the deeper we get into these conversations, since we're doing them 3 days a week, you're going to really start to get a sense of like, I can do this. I can feel the feels. I can go through stuff that has happened that's suppressed. I can learn to interpret what energy is in my body. And you start to unshackle all of the reasons why you have self-doubt and a low self-esteem. And I just feel like I just watched somebody roll their eyes, like, Lauren, like, not everybody has a bunch of self-doubt and low self-esteem. But here's the thing. If you cannot follow through on your self-care, there's a self-esteem issue. If you do not hold yourself in a high enough regard to actually take care of yourself, there's a self-esteem issue. Welcome to Queen Bold EQ podcast, where I share with you the mindset, energetics, emotional intelligence, and habits required to transform your health and manifest your dream body. I'm your host, Lauren Saracione, a 20-plus year fitness professional, lifelong entrepreneur, and I have self-healed my chronic pain and my emotional eating. And I am here to share with you the spiritual and the practical so you can transform your health and manifest your dream body. Oh, I am so excited for this episode. So welcome everyone to episode number 4 of Queen Bold Energetics. This podcast is about you being the queen of your emotions, of your choices, owning your self-worth, your self-respect, your self-love. And that's what's going to transform your health. And it's going to help you manifest not just your dream body, but your dream life. And the funny thing is, the more like I've been focusing on how do I want to share this energetic, mental, emotional skill set that I have, like how do I actually want to share this message with people in a way that's going to inspire them to take these actions for themselves. And in a lot of like marketing classes and business classes, it's all about selling people what they want and then giving them what they need. So what they want is, the entrepreneurs here in the Zoom world, is to be camera ready, look hot, be able to take care of our body, take care of our business, feel confident in our skin, feel sexy. Some of us want to grow a butt. Some of us want a flat stomach. Some of us want some nice rounded cap shoulders. But the flip side of that for me, and like the stress of trying to figure out how to message what I do, is that when I went into this mental, emotional, energetic journey, it was to get healthy and get out of physical pain. And the more I learned about health and physical pain, or I should say dis-ease and physical pain, the more my body got better looking. And so sometimes when I go to like write things down, like write my copy or like what I'm going to do in a post or prepare for the podcast episode, I'm like, yes, the outcome is you get the body of your dreams, but the work is just to like yourself, to start to like yourself, then start to appreciate yourself, then start to respect yourself, then start to love yourself. Then it's like all of these things really start to come together for us. And so this podcast is for you to learn how I have become the queen of my bold energy so that you could do it too. And the bold part is that we have to be bold. We have to be bold if we're going to go into our body to change the mental and emotional / energetic state. We have to be bold to make that effort to feel the suppressed feelings and memories that are not in our conscious mind that we're like, okay, I know I'm like this because, not those ones where we know something bad happened to us and we know that that thing has shaped our perspective on life, not those ones. To feel the things that we have experienced that we have repressed. And remembering the things that we have experienced that we've repressed is not necessarily remembering an actual event of violation or victimization. Remembering when we have been victimized is also, because of course it could happen where you could remember something really terrible, but it's also allowing the information that is in your brain to interpret the energy stored in your body. And that's not what this podcast episode is about, but I want to lay the foundation of why this is so important and how, and why it's so effective. And the deeper we get into these conversations, since we're doing them 3 days a week, you're going to really start to get a sense of I can do this. I can feel the feels. I can go through stuff that has happened that's suppressed. I can learn to interpret what energy is in my body. And you start to unshackle all of the reasons why you have self-doubt and a low self-esteem. And I just feel like I just watched somebody roll their eyes. Lauren, not everybody has a bunch of self-doubt and low self-esteem. But here's the thing. If you cannot follow through on your self-care, there's a self-esteem issue. If you do not hold yourself in a high enough regard to actually take care of yourself, there's a self-esteem issue. Hello, Brooke. Brooke is here. I'm so excited to see your little bubble. Hello, love. I would love for you to join in the conversation. Any comments or questions are welcomed. And then self-esteem. What did I say? I already forgot. Self-doubt. So self-doubt is the mindset and the limiting beliefs and the reasons in our head that we say something can't be accomplished. And then the self-esteem is actually an emotional state of am I valuable enough to prioritize myself on top of all these other things, or put myself first, because you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you can really do other stuff. So when we have self-doubt and low self-esteem, when we do the inner work, we release the shackles, we release the barriers, we take off a veil that is hiding what our true essence is and what our potential is in the world. And so those were the things that happened, all this really cool spiritual stuff started to happen to me when I was just doing the work to change my personality to get out of chronic pain, which started when I was going through my divorce. And I had to stop judging my soon-to-be ex-husband's ex-wife, because I was wait, I get to leave this whole situationship and I'm still holding on to judging her. What the actual F is my problem right now? And that's when I was reading Dr. Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I was oh, I have to stop judging her if I'm going to get out of pain. So I started doing just what I needed to do to get out of pain. And then this whole spiritual revolution just kept happening over and over and over again. And it's now I'm healthy and I'm getting hotter and hotter. And food is neutral for me. And I used to binge eat. And I'm oh my God, I got to tell everybody how this happens so they can do it too. So that's what this podcast is for. All right. So what we're talking about today is calibrating your body with the energetics of love, joy, appreciation, kindness, and care. So I've got 5 topics for you, and we are jumping in now. Brooke is back. Wait a minute. Let me see. Okay, so Brooke said, so excited you're doing a podcast again. Yay, gonna have to catch up. And she's back. Hi. Okay. Were you doing something with twins and now you are back? Okay. So there's 5 points that we're going to go over today of calibrating your body with the energetics of love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. Number 1, what energetic calibration is. Parentheses, going high to feel the low. Number 2, why love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. Number 3, downloads and memories. Number 4, decision and focus. Number 5, integration and quote unquote going again. That's what I call it, because this does not end. Oh, Brooke was saying hi to Coco. Brooke, I thought you left. I didn't realize you were still here. Awesome. Okay. All right. So those are the 5 things that we're going to talk about tonight, and let's dive in. The energetic calibration of going high to feel the low. When we're in meditation and we are feeling the good vibes, what happens is we elevate our energy. And so I want you to visualize that you have this internal elevator that's so high that's not in the building that it can take in the entire landscape of what's going on. And instead of it being buildings or different office cubicles, it's your memories. The thought memories, the meanings are held in your body. This is why 𝗬�𝗻's work is so important. She spent like 40 or 50 years talking with people, and people had similar stories. For people with similar ailments had similar stories. So she compiled this whole, life's work of showing how, like, if you have shoulder pain, this might be what you're feeling. This would be the opposite mantra for you to say to start recalibrating. So our memory, the meanings, the stories, the why, who we think we are, is stored in the physical body. And the energetics of it is the vibrational component. And there's studies that shows mandalas. Mandalas, they're kind of like snowflakes, that emotions are mandala shaped. And you can kind of see this in the Japanese scientist's work when he speaks a word to frozen water and it makes snowflakes in different shapes, coherent, beautiful designs with a high vibration emotion, and discoherent, jacked up designs when it's a low vibe emotion. So the emotions, the energy are stored in the field. And so like you can see this, like, and some people can like put pictures of an aura where it will show like a cord going into it or a dent, or the aura is really dim. When we get into a high vibrational state in meditation, it allows us to experience what's held in the body. And because the body communicates through the senses, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, when we go high to experience the low vibration stuff that's in our body, it translates through the body. That's where it like moves from the light body energetic state into the sensations of the body, so that now the body is vibrating and doing things at that rate of the emotion. So then now it's sending signals up to the brain to say, this is the vibration that we're feeling. What does this mean? And then the brain finds a picture to describe the meaning, or a memory. Eidetic image that's just like, this is what it means, that you may have never seen before in your life, or a memory. So when we go high, it's allowing us to pull up, drudge up the dark stuff so that we can actually turn it into wisdom. Because darkness without the light is just fear and scariness. But with the light, uh-oh, you can see my pink. With the light, it is wisdom, and it is beautiful. Number 2, why love, joy, appreciation, kindness, and care? This is from HeartMath Institute. HeartMath Institute is a company that has a nonprofit section and a certification system, and they measure brain and heart coherence. They measure the energetic coherence of the planet. They have several huge devices across the planet. They will go to events and measure the coherency of the collective group that's in there. They are experts in energetics. They have put data to spiritual practice. And so what they found is to get the brain coherent into theta brain waves, where they're like the smooth, hypnotic, peaceful, open to your intuition, brain waves and thinking state, that the best emotions to get there were love, joy, appreciation, kindness, and care. So I got certified in HeartMath Institute Brain Heart Coherence Breathing in 2019. And so I use this meditation. It's just 3 minutes a day, and you feel a sense of gratitude for yourself, and then you calibrate yourself to one of those emotions. You imagine something that would make you feel from the outside in love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. Now, those emotions are what is going to then turn the lights on, give you the awareness of all the low vibration stuff in your body. And I think of emotions. Do I have a sphere? Oh, my sphere's plugged in. Let's see if I can pick this up without, well, you know what a sphere looks like. Oh, look I made it into the frame. You guys, if you're listening to this on Spotify, I'm holding up a sphere salt lamp. Okay, so the most advanced geometric shape is a sphere, because what that means is that we have gone through energetically, our soul, whatever, we've gone through every shape that the universe has to offer, every intersection of experience of time and space. The sphere is where we stand in the center of the life experience, and on one end of the sphere to the other is the polarity of emotional experience of life. So the opposite emotion to love is indifference. The opposite emotion to joy is sadness. Appreciation is disappointment. Kindness is guilt. Care is shame. And so when we go into a state to feel the high vibrational, we allow ourselves to then create the contrast of the low vibration unconscious. We are accessing the unconscious that is our energetic sabotage. In sabotage, when it's unconscious, not subconscious, when we have unconscious sabotage, that is the body getting sick, dis-ease, or injuries. When we have unconscious sabotage, we just can't get ourselves to do it. There's like no trying. We just like cannot. It is so far below the surface, you don't even know the problem to fix it. Unconscious. Deep, 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 deep. So those emotional ranges of love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care have ranges within that, right? There's a way that you care for a dog that you're washing, then you care for your car that you're washing, then you care for an infant that you're washing. There's gradients to all of these emotions. Same with the low vibration ones. And so when I was doing this work, really a lot in 2020, because like, what else was there to do? I saw emotions as a long, long, long spiral. Deep, 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 deep. So there's this thing in marketing that's like, you can go wide and broad and like just speak to the masses, make something super cheap so that a lot of people can buy it. Your business is based on volume. Or you go deep. You have like one topic and you just keep going with that one topic to speak to a very specific select people who really want what you need. And then therefore you don't have to go by volume. You could have a higher price tag, but you won't have as much quote unquote work because you don't have as much volume to deal with. So I would see these emotions as deep. And I was like, I am going to go through each negative emotion in my chart until I'm done. And I'll know when I'm done. So I would look at my natal chart and my human design chart, and I'm like, okay, like, what are my shadow aspects? How can I feel this on purpose to really excavate this and get it out of my system? So I feel like that kind of like led into number 3, which was downloads and memories. It was a little tangenty, but oh well. But so like it did kind of lead us into the downloads and memories. So let's see if I can kind of like clean that up for you a second. So let me reiterate that why we're using love, joy, appreciation, kindness, and care is because Heart Math Institute has researched it to be the best ones to use. And then their opposites are the emotions that we often deal with our self-doubt and our self-esteem and our ability to follow through, and how our health manifests and how we're able to stick with what we need to stick with to manifest our dream body. There we go. So number 3, downloads and memories. So this is kind of what I was talking about with that deepness of the emotion. When we are in this meditative state, so these next 3 topics, I'm going to take you into like how this is actually going to work so that you can use it, especially if you sign up for the 28-day energetic calibration. So you understand like why you're doing it, and then you actually do the things necessary in the 3D to make the calibration stick. So the downloads and memories, when we're in this meditative state, we're in a theta brainwave state. That's what we took that time to get our brain and heart coherent. Our heart is the divine mother. So I see the energetic interpretation of quantum physics as the divine father is masculine, connected to the brain. The divine mother is feminine, connected to the heart. And then the divine child, the will of God, is us, the person, connected through the lungs, because the lungs is what pulls the breath in and out between physical and non-physical. So our breath, our lungs, our 3 to 5% conscious mind is God in the flesh. This is how we actually do the thing as being a fragment of source energy. And the reason why I think I relate to it as the Trinity is because of my upbringing and having a quote unquote broken home. And as my dad would say, I would have no roots. I have roots. I have my own thoughts of what is possible for me in a family. Okay. But that's not like the point of this podcast right now. I think that I interpret energetics as a divine family because that is the wholeness that I was missing. So for me, in my spiritual essence, having a divine holy trinity of a mom, a dad, and a child that love and support each other is the interpretations and downloads that I got in meditation. Because I said quantum physics, I want to say this, is that masculine energy is a positive charge, feminine energy is a negative charge, and then we are the neutral. When we change our thoughts and our feelings, we actually change our body on an atomic level, because atoms are mostly empty vortices of energy that are waiting to be programmed by thought. We're only 0.00001% matter. So when we change our thoughts and feelings, that's the 99.999%, our atoms shift. We become radioactive. So, my point, when we're in the theta brainwave state, when we are in brain and heart and physical coherency, because our lungs are doing the 5 seconds in, 5 seconds of breathing, we have to get present in our body. We are feeling an emotion of love, joy, appreciation, kindness, care. We are consciously creating a picture in our head or a movie or something in our head that's like, yes, walking through the forest with smelling the moss and seeing twinkly lights and mist coming through the sun and having somebody look at me and say, I love you, like whatever, like, yes, this would make me feel love, joy, appreciation, kindness if I were to experience in real life. You're letting your whole senses emerge yourself into this experience that you're having in your mental and emotional state while keeping it synced up together with your brain or with your breathing. So you have now gotten your mind, body, your mental, emotional, and physical bodies together. So then all of a sudden we can like click into the fourth body, which is the spiritual body. This is where we get some downloads, and we'll deal with memories too. There's like two parts to all of this stuff. So when we get the downloads, when we're in that theta brainwave state, you are accessing your divine intelligence. And so when you're in this state, this is where you get these ahas where you're like, oh my gosh, this like problem that I was having, all of a sudden you'll see the thing, but as a solution. You'll start to see your life in a different way. You'll start to see your body in a different way. You might get an idea to eat something different or differently. So many things can change. It's just like in an instant, you just get this download. Or you could be like how I was in 2015, where I got the download for Love is a Verb podcast, where it was like, this is what you're going to do. This is how often you're going to do it. This is, this is the extent that it's going to go. Like I saw so much stuff just like in an instant. And so those downloads can happen to give you the directive of what you actually need to do in your human. Especially if there's things in your life in your business and in your habits that you need to clean up. That's your stuff that like your divine intelligence is telling you, this is how you clean it up. Okay, so we get the downloads in that state, and we also get memories. So When you are in a high vibrational state and you're giving your mind contrast to what the low vibrations are in your body, and hang on a second. And it was so funny. My mind was like, had it in like a word format. Like I like, it's so silly. Like my brain, I like see it like a typewriter typing. And then it like stopped because I was like, do I put a slash here or do I put a comma? And I'm like, oh my God, I totally lost it. Okay. When we're in a high vibrational state, we give contrast to the energetics that's in our body that's making us feel like crap. So homeostasis is going to come into play in this moment. This is when our thoughts go dark and we think that we're doing something wrong in meditation. We are not. We are not. Meditation is about becoming aware. So when you have these thoughts come up, you're actually becoming aware. You have the memories that come up. You're becoming aware of what's in your body. So check this out. I kind of talked about this on episode 3, but I'll say it really quickly here. When we have an energy in our body that becomes active vibrationally in the light body, in the I was gonna say the fourth dimensional body, but it's not really the fourth. When your energetic field or your light body starts to have a low vibration emotion start to go off, the tissue of your physical body vibrates at that rate. The cells in your tissue want to know what they should be made of with that vibrational rate. It's almost like the cells in the body are like, where are we? What is going on? Should we be afraid right now? Should we be angry right now? What's happening? And so with that low vibe energy that got set off by putting ourselves into a high vibrational state, now the body is vibrating at that rate. So the body sends a signal to the brain and the mind-body connection and says, is this what we're feeling? And so then the brain hears that question and like goes through like a Rolodex. If anybody knows what a Rolodex is anymore, goes through its memory bank and is like, yes, this is what we are feeling. This is like just like this. And so it's like your own Akashic record. It's like your own database. Yes, that is the emotion that you are feeling. But what does it mean? Is it still dark and the lights are off and so it's still fear and pain? Or is it like, oh yeah, it's that feeling just like that time, but I already did my forgiveness work. So actually I'm feeling wisdom right now. Like that's eventually what's going to happen. But in the moment when these memories come up, when we're in this high vibrational state, that's the time you get to be your own healer. You get to shaman yourself. Because now you're in a coherent theta brainwave state. You are hooked up to your divine intelligence. And so now you can observe the low vibe emotions and the memories that go with it from the place of, I was going to say observation again, from the place of like therapy. So now is the time where you cry, where you scream in your pillow, where you get your journal out and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't even remember this thing happened. And you go through the process of forgiveness. Which totally sucks, but like that's what it all boils down to. You have to feel what you've repressed, and then you have to forgive and move on. That is the only way that you're going to get through this. So the next part, number 4, is decision and focus. So once you've had a download, so this is your divine intelligence telling you what the fuck to do. and once you've experienced the memories where it's like, okay, this stuff is like ready now to be seen, felt, and forgived and released, now you have a decision and focus. So you have to decide what you want. You have to decide if you are going to be on a healing journey for your 5,000 lifetimes that happened 10,000 lifetimes ago that's still inhibiting you today. Or are you going to move the fuck on? Because even if you're doing stuff about lifetimes, the more you hang on to it, the more it's still existing and that part of you is still suffering. So what are you going to do? Anyway, you have to make the decision if you're going to heal or not. You're going to have to make the decision if you're going to let go of someone in this lifetime that's hurt you. And I know it's easier said than done. I finally let go of my dad in May of 2022. finally, it occurred to me that there was nothing in the entire world that I could have done or that I could have been to get him to love me the way I wanted him to love me. It finally landed that there was nothing I could have changed. And thinking that I could change meant that there was something wrong with me to not have the love. So I finally got to a point where I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. Just didn't work out. That's his own shit. I know what his childhood was like. I know what my grandpa's childhood was like. And I know how I projected the same way my dad projected on me. So, okay, so Brooke says, oh yes, I was wondering if the memories could be from past lifetimes. Yes. And we have to get into that on another episode / at the end of this one, we can come back to it so that everybody who is not interested in past lifetimes could get number 5 and move on. So number 4 was the decision and focus. So we have to decide if we're going to move on or not. And we have to focus. So we focus by staying coherent as much as possible in our day-to-day so that when the bad emotions come up, we don't do our sabotaging behaviors. Because remember, it's these emotions. Yay, Brooke, I'm so glad. It's these emotions that are coming up in the meditation in contrast to love, joy, appreciation, kindness, and care that are causing your body to unconsciously sabotage you with dis-ease and chronic tension and making you do shit that you really don't want to do that you know is not going to get you to your goal. This is I literally can watch myself eat 5 Oreos when I know I'm not supposed to be eating 5 Oreos. Like when you have like this out of body experience, when you're in your sabotage, like, but you don't know, like you can't stop it. There's nothing in your willpower that can stop your hand from moving to the freezer for the ice cream. It's almost like we're empty. There isn't even a conversation to be had internally. We just are like doing the thing that we know we don't want to do. So we have to focus. We have to be aware of our emotional state at all times because our emotions are what's influencing our brain. We have to be aware of our thoughts. Are they disempowering, destructive? Are they full of self-doubt? Are you berating yourself? Are you being super mean to yourself? Because whatever thoughts are going on, that's also a reflection of your energetic state. So if you can't feel, it took me a really, 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 really long time to feel. I only projected. And then days later after an event, okay, so something bad would happen that hurt my feelings. I wouldn't react to it. I would shut down, get sick or get a migraine for 2 to 3 days later. Then I could actually express, at least to myself, I would never go back to the person and tell them what happened, but I could at least articulate that I'm upset. This thing that happened, I'm upset about, but I still didn't even have language to describe to myself how I was feeling. So I was been super out of my body for a really long time. So we have to, if you can't feel, take a look at what you're thinking, because the thinking thoughts have feelings associated with it that are the energetic state. So we have to make that decision to heal and move on. And then we have to focus in our day-to-day. Number 5 is integration and quote unquote going again. We get a download of inspiration, or we get the aha moment of a memory. We work through it. We're integrating the information, and maybe the right word is compounding. We're compounding the information in 3D, because it's not enough for us to know something and feel something and have this great spiritual experience and peaceful experience in our meditation and then not do anything with it and just keep our day-to-day habits and our lifestyle and our environment exactly the same. We cannot do that. We are the third part. We're the neutral of quantum physics. We are the divine will of God. We are spirit. We are a fragment of source. So if we don't do our part, it's not going to happen. Or maybe it will, and you just get lucky. I don't know. There's no absolutes. But the integration and going again is that, okay, I had that download. I have to move in that direction because that was the divine guidance. That was not me operating from my brain, whose job is to keep me safe based on past experience. That information has its usefulness in situations like life and death, like actual stress situations, and then also as the governor. to help you. It can turn into your divine masculine of like, hey, baby girl, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You kind of burn out when you do that. It turns into that. But when you get the divine inspiration, that's coming from your high heart. That's coming from your high self. That's coming from the full expansiveness of your soul, who is connected to source, whose thing, whose job, whose life is to experience the world through your eyes. So listen to that. So when we have that download and we listen to it, then we're actually going to say, okay, well, this is the direction I'm supposed to go into. What are the things that I need to change? Does this match? Does that music match? Does that TV show match? Does this match in my room? Should I change this? What should I do? Okay, yes. Let's move the 3D stuff, free up the energy, the physical energy that we're surrounded by, stay focused, and go again. Because it's like a staircase that you're building, that you get the download in your mental, emotional, coherent state. You rearrange your 3D of your environment, your lifestyle, your habits, your self-care, your boundaries, like all the things. And then you kind of like stay at that level, that new mental and emotional physical state, so that now that's who you be. And you keep practicing your brain and heart coherence breathing until another download comes in. And you know, some of this stuff, you're going to get like a really high vibe download that's going to be a very high perspective, and you have no freaking clue how you're going to make it happen. And then there's other downloads that are incremental, that are given to us, or like we're able to access them because we've calibrated to another energetic space, where whatever low vibration emotion we cleared, we kind of like brought our buoyancy in the field, in the quantum field, on the emotional scale up a little bit higher. So then the computerization in our brain actually had some more creative thoughts to deal with. Yeah, Brooke says assimilating. Maybe it's that. It's from Melanie Ann Layer, and she said it where I was like, oh, she says, I say 2 of the 3 things that she called it. And so I couldn't remember it, and I didn't know what program it was to pull it out of my notes. I'm not sure. But yeah, assimilation / integration. And so what happens is, you just, like, you know, when you can have a bad day, and like you start by stubbing your toe, and then you spill your coffee, and then you run out of gas before you get to where you need to go. And like everything just seems to get worse and worse and worse. Excuse me. You can go the other way. So when we're doing this work, we get the download, we make the decision to focus, we integrate it into our life by changing the things that we know we need to change based on that divine intelligence. And then we go again, and we just keep allowing ourselves to be led, and things get better and better and better and better. Okay. It is 49 minutes in. If you feel complete with these 5 topics, that is amazing. Before you stop your podcast player, I just want to tell you 2 things. Number 1, the 28-day energetic calibration is an email series delivered to you via email. You go to bodyenergetics.com. It's energetics with an X. If you're listening to this live, do not go there now, because I've not completed the campaign. If you are listening to this on a Spotify player or YouTube, it is up. You can go to there right now. But if you're watching this live, do not go there now. By the time you hear the replay, it will be done. So you will get these emails delivered to you for 28 days, little snippets of points of focus that you're going to use. You're going to get a link to the YouTube video so that you can do the guided meditation with me. The other thing that I want to say is that the outro on my podcast is super cute, because I pulled snippets from my clients. And it's really awesome and really inspiring. I totally love it. So if anything, just like fast forward all the way to the end, then like rewind it by a minute or something. Okay. So if you are complete, that is what you have. It's in the show notes of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 points of why we're using these energetics. We're going to get into them more deeply, so that as you're meditating, you're really going to be like, what's this all about? Okay. So if you are staying for a little bit longer, we are going to talk about memories from past lifetimes. Brooke, are you ready? Are you still here? Let's see. Yes. Awesome. Okay. I had to like move something out of the way, Brooke, to see if you're still here. You're still here. Okay, so I'm like, where do I start? I believe in past lives. I believe that they're actually parallel lifetimes because time and space is continuous and everything is already done. Like the Big Bang already happened and already disintegrated back to source. Like, okay, seriously, like I'll slow down and be serious about this. So the energetics that I understand and that like I tap into is that I'm making a cross right now with my hands, and it's a cross that has equal points up and down, side to side, and like an X or a plus sign. And so this cross, the feminine energetics, is vertical because that's the emotional scale, right? Hell is below boredom, heaven is above boredom. And then from side to side, this is masculine energetics of time and doing and incarnation. And I realize that I'm probably going to use energetics in different ways that you have heard, but it is what it is. This is how I've tapped into it and made sense and gotten healthy and hot. So take it or leave it. So we have the feminine energetics that's vertical of vibration. We have the masculine energetics that's lateral, that or horizontal, that is time. And so if you can visualize that this plus sign moves in all directions, like the horizontal line moves as we're having each lifetime, and lifetimes of experience and experience within those things are going up and down like an elevator. But this cross is not just a cross. It's actually like three-dimensional, sphere-like, and there's points of consciousness within it. So like a point of consciousness is the time you were a witch and you got burned. A point of consciousness is when you were going into gas chambers. A point of consciousness is when you hung yourself. And I'm just mentioning a few of my lifetimes. No, I don't know if they are. So, but those are the things that have come up with me in a meditation. So when we are, for me, how I view this as is that if we are a person who is highly sensitive, who has addictions, I don't want to breathe so heavy into the mic, highly sensitive, has an addictive personality, has a lot of deep-seated depression and anger, and we're aware of it and we're trying to work on it, I kind of feel like this is the lifetime that we get to roll through and get off the planet, to be quite honest with you. I know it's probably going to sound crazy to some people, but I feel like it's the time of completion. And who knows, we may have had other times of completion, and those were times that we were viewed as heretics and we should have kept our mouths shut because we were going against the mainstream so bad that like we were a threat and so we had to die. Like clearly, I don't think that this is the only lifetime that this could be happening. Do not think that. But what I do think is that if we have an addictive personality, have a lot of depression, have a lot of anger, if we are like, you know, like just keep falling short, like something just always happens, like we just can't quite get there. And then we also want to heal. I feel like there is stuff that's ready to be worked on in this lifetime with who we are now to clean up all of that stuff and gather all of our parts. So for me, it feels like that those other lifetimes, not past, not future, that those other lifetimes are actually like fragments. And so I started to see this as if we were up in a light source. So if you think about Disney's, the one where he falls into the manhole and he dies, he turns into a ghost and then he goes into a cat body instead of his body. I forgot what it was, but it's a Disney movie. And the light source there, when you die and you're a ghost, you're a little light body. It's so cute. You're on a conveyor belt and you're going into source energy. And source energy, once you hit it, it's like when a mosquito hits a mosquito killer, an electric mosquito killer that goes on your porch. So in the movie, when these little light bodies hit source energy, they just absorb soul. Thank you. The movie is Soul. They just absorb into the source energy. And this light body who still has his consciousness is like, no, I'm not ready to go. I'm not ready to go. What is that? There's nothing. And that's one of the scariest things about death, because it's like, when we go back to source, there is nothing. There is no experience. You're just. So this little light body's trying to run down the conveyor belt so that it doesn't go into source energy. And then he figures out how to get into the area where new souls are born, and you go into our incarnation and you have an ascended master that helps you. You're like your spirit, you get assigned a spirit guide. It's very telling. And if you meditate, you're like, I know exactly what they're talking about. So for me, these fragments, so that source energy was my point of talking about that I see us as like with this ball of light of source energy. And then we descend. We move away from source energy. And so if you look at a shooting star and how it starts to fragment off in our vision, or if you think about a flashlight, how the light is really dense close to the light bulb, and then it gets less and less and less until there's nothing there. I feel like that less and less and less until there's nothing there are fragments of our consciousness. And so when we go into a meditative state, we are remembering points of consciousness, stations of consciousness, where we had a brain and a body, where we were in a materialized form to have the experience. And the recollection of it is like, when we have something that's painful that happens to us, we block it out, right? This is why, like, severe sexual abuse, the person's gone. They figure out how to leave their body so that they don't have to experience the abuse that's happening. So I feel like those fragments of our consciousness are left when they're too hard to deal with. I also believe that there's evil on the other side that orchestrates a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to get into it because that's my personal opinion. It really doesn't have anything to do with it. But as far as talking about mental and emotional and consciousness, I feel like this is okay for the context that we're in right now. So when these memories come up, because I believe that they are a fragment of our consciousness, that means that they're part of the recesses of our mind. That means that they're stored in our cellular DNA. So, okay, cellular DNA, that kind of sounded funny. They're stored in the cells because the cells become programmed of our DNA, which is also influenced by what's called miasma, which is an energetic entity that grows with us in time and follows us through generations. So like our whole family ancestry with blood on this physical universe also has a miasmatic lineage of energy. And so this stuff goes into how our body manifests from the energetic side of miasma and then through the bloodline side in physical. So when we are consciousness and we incarnate multiple times that are happening all at the same time, because our consciousness is like, this is again what I believe, that like the body that we have facilitates what our consciousness is going to do in this lifetime. So when people like, I've kind of like thought about like, am I being an ableist with what I talk about here? Well, not necessarily. I don't have anybody that has told me that they're missing a limb or something doesn't, function the way it quote unquote should be in a body. But I believe that every body is perfectly designed for what that consciousness is supposed to do in their life. So if you're in a wheelchair and you hold space for happiness and joy for people and a positive mindset and what's possible in other areas that don't involve walking on legs, don't you think that body was perfectly designed for that consciousness for that lifetime? That's what I think. So when we're looking at what we have going on in our body, it's going to have some of the information from all the other points of consciousness that we have. So that means when we're going through these meditations and something comes up, I've had a lot of flashes of different life events where like even one time I saw all of these bodies below me die. And then all of a sudden when like I got to the last one, I don't know, I must have been like 20 deep. Then all of a sudden this like surge of energy from that last body came up in gold energy, hit my now body and then kept going. And I was like, whoa, that's insane. And I've also had different like images of life events that aren't mine. And so when I was first going through this work and I did research I did research with my religious wound because I've had a lot of issues with the church, and I don't think that it's non-synchronistic that I believe that the Holy Trinity is actually Father God in our brain, Mother God in our heart, and us as the divine child in our lungs. And I think that we've been gaslit by religion, that it's all masculine energy, because how are you going to make a baby if you don't got a feminine? So going through like images that I had like with religion, and then looking at all my questions that I've had about religion, going through why do I have this neck injury? Did anybody in my family die by a neck injury? Lo and behold, yes, there was a woman who hung herself. Why do I have these? I can't really get into it, but I had Jewish stuff that I don't want to get into, but that's a thing in my family's history, my family's direct history. So a lot of stuff has come up, and recently I had a meditation where I was like really asking questions about my neck, and I'm like, please, like, tell me something like about my neck, like I want to know. And I saw an image, and with the image, it was somebody being hung, and I was like, okay, the witch wound. And I was like, do I really want to have that identity? Is that really something that like I'm on board with? Do I have this neck problem because at one time I was hung for being a witch and speaking against the narrative? No. Okay, what do I feel here? And then shame came up. And I was like, huh, I wonder if like the images of past lifetimes are actually just images, not just images, but what if they are just like, they're just pictures of what our consciousness has experienced, allowing us to identify what energy is in our now body. So when I decided that that's what I was going to interpret this as, because I was in a lot of like past lifetime stuff for like probably a year and a half, really going through it. And I really feel that if we hang on to it, and we hang on to stories, which could be, totally real. Like I've listened to the hypnotherapy of people in past lifetimes with Dolores Cannon. I don't think it's not real. I don't think it's not real. I think that we can get sucked into a culture that we are identifying that this thing is our problem in our now moment. And so, I'm trying to think like if there was like a past lifetime thing that I was like really, really, really upset about, that I felt like was inhibiting something in my life. And I don't really feel like anything was inhibiting my life. I feel like it was all still imagined. So not sure. I'm not sure. I'm looking at Brooke's comment, everyone who's on Spotify. So she said, sorry if this got you deeper than you wanted. I was beheaded in a parallel life, dealing with that karma now. Like, I don't think it's not real. I think that we can swing too hard from being a matter only person, like only diet and exercise is going to get you to your dream body, which is not true. Or we can be like an antimatter or a non-physical universe person too much and not get present to what's going on now. And that if we look at the mind as something that's going to produce a memory or an eidetic image is just something that is like instant in your brain that you don't think about. And so that's coming from your unconscious. And so when we can look at a past lifetime regression and a feeling or in a picture that we have in our mind, when we're focusing on that to allow ourselves to interpret it, it's like we can look at that thing that happened and we can find the story of like, what did this mean to me in this time? How did this, what shame was guilt sadness, disappointment, what indifference, like I go and I look at what are the actual emotions that are associated with this lifetime memory that's coming up for me, and where is it also showing up in my life, and then how do I make those changes? Because if we're gonna apply, this is like all my internal dialogue of healing, by the way, because I would be like, if these parallel lifetimes are happening at the present moment, and we can collect our parts, we can do parts work, we can retrieve our soul fragments, and whatever we have focus on, wherever our point of focus is, that's where the thing is real. So I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If I hang on to this story about this past lifetime, then that means that that version of myself is still suffering because it hadn't grown. And this is kind of funny, Brooke. I'm going to tell you this. This is kind of weird. I forgot about this. And I had this dream and I told my mom about it. And I was like, holy schmoly, this is incredible. So in this dream, let me see if I can like totally grab it because I can see part of it in my brain. In this dream, there was a door. It's kind of the color of this pine cabinet here that you can kind of see. And there was a door and it didn't have a handle on it. And there was two guys, and one of the guys was like, come downstairs. And it was like a basement, right? And it was like almost like two dreams side by side, because I saw myself going into that and I knew I was not going to get out alive. Like it was like scary torture stuff, right? Like on these like creepy movies that like, you know, it's creepy movie stuff is what it was. And so then in the dream, I like somehow was like at the last 3 steps of the basement to get out the door, and I got out the door, or maybe I didn't even go in. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but when I woke up, well, when I was in the dream, I knew what was happening. I knew there was a version of me that went into that basement. I just had this like deep knowing. And then when I didn't go into the basement in my dream, because I was aware of this dream happening, and I woke up, I was like, oh, is that what they're talking about? And it felt like I had this very new drop of wisdom that we can go into our consciousness and change things that have happened, but they're not things that happen in this lifetime. Like I'm talking about the other lifetime stuff. So I don't know if that's helpful. I don't feel like, I'm thinking about the past lifetimes that like I felt like I really resonated with, that like, yes, like that definitely happened. I don't feel like I've gone back to any of those things and like forgiven what happened, in the sense of feeling like there was a process and a person to go through, but I felt like I just could feel the energetics of it and be like, oh, I've been carrying this in my body, in my light body, in my consciousness. So that's why it's in my now body. And it's almost like that deep emotional part where I was talking about how you can go deep into an emotion. I allowed myself to feel the emotions as horribly as I possibly could, because I knew whatever thought that was coming to mind was the meaning I was making about it with myself. And so I just kept going. And so maybe that was part of like the past lifetime stuff of like being able to have like really traumatizing deaths in my brain to then re-experience the emotion to then calibrate higher. I don't know. Brooke says, I think it's compounded the betrayal I felt in this life. So if you be beheaded, do you know if you're beheaded by someone that you loved? I was beheaded in the lifetime. I think we all were. Compounded the betrayal I felt in this life. Yeah, I mean, I think like if we're talking about unconscious, then you're feeling that vibrational state that's in your body is going to be so strong. So then it's like, then that's like your brain is remembering that energetic, and it's really keeping an outlook, you know, with binoculars to make sure whatever's coming towards you doesn't betray you. And so then you may want to look at where you have projected and betrayed other people unconsciously, like really look to see like if you've broken people's trust and you've hurt people's feelings or you didn't follow through, because the the mental emotional state is going to present itself one way or another. Either you do it and you can't see it because it's unconscious, or it is being done to you. Oh, so you're in a karmic relationship with the person who beheaded you, and that person's in your life now. That's a long soul contract. Let's see what she says. I'm thinking about my soul contract, people. We are healing stuff from the parallel life in this lifetime now by growing. Is this person aware that you feel this way? The delay. There's a delay on the messages. She had a, oh, maybe she put the brain explosion emojis. Maybe it was in the projections or the attraction. So what I would say for this, to close it out, if you know about parallel lifetimes, or, oh, okay, the person does not know that this is her feeling of the relationship. Okay, so if you are someone who is doing work with parallel lifetimes, or if you just listen to this part and you're like, what the fuck, but it's interesting, I kind of get it. This is what I would say, is that if you have, like if you've had like a psychic talk to you about this, like anything that you have had where somebody has been like, this is a past lifetime issue, anything that somebody has referred to you with a past lifetime or a parallel lifetime or a future lifetime, they're really happening all at once. It's just that time happens because of our point of consciousness. Just like you can go back in time to a memory, or you can go forward in time to a worry or a fantasy, or you can be here right now. Time is just where you're focused. So these lifetimes are all happening right now. It's just where you're focused on them. So at least that's what I believe. So if you have anything to do with lifetimes and stuff, and it has some interest to you, what I would do is that when you're in that meditative state and an eidetic image comes to you that is no memory, it's not something that you've seen before, it's not from a movie, it's just like this thing. And if you can be in that state and actually like watch the movie play in your head or look at the picture, look at who's talking to each other, look at what the environment is. Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it raining? Is there a fire? Like really take in everything. Look at the environment, look at the relationships, look at the self that you seem to think that you were in that moment. If you can't pinpoint yourself in a body that you're seeing in that moment, then just take in the story that's being told. Because the story that you interpret or you see from that picture is the meaning that your consciousness makes about the vibrational state that's in your energy, the emotion. So what you do then is now you have that image, and if you could like really then like take your time to kind of like write it out, then what you can see, then you get it out of your body, you can focus on it without having to worry about remembering anything. And then you're really looking at the story. And if you can really feel the story and then go to the thesaurus and look up the emotions that you think go along with this story and then dial them in, look up the synonyms for those words, because you might find the real essence of the story 3 thesaurus searches in, to where you really find an emotion of like, that is what it feels like. It's that. So then you find that emotion, and then you're like, where else is this showing up in my life? Because that emotion is dictating your thoughts. It's dictating how your body is operating, and it's also dictating what is magnetized to you. So then you can start to look at like, where does my environment confirm this emotion that I have in my body? You're really looking to see what's in your environment, what's in your career, what's in your relationships, what's in your body, what's in your self-talk and the relationship to yourself that confirm this state of being. This is your being that we're dealing with here. This is the energetic substance that's dictating your life, that tells the brain what to do. So if you can really dial that in and look around at what's going on, then you're going to be able to release that memory, and not even like release it. You're going to integrate it as wisdom. There's this movie called Infinite with, forget the actor, but it's called Infinite. It's about past lifetimes, and it's so freaking good. And it's like, if you woke up every single lifetime remembering the lifetime before, you would know what you're capable of. And so when we do the lifetime work, you're actually finding out what you're capable of, because a lot of us has been through really bad stuff. Like, just look at medieval times. I mean, do we have to explain that we've had hard lifetimes? Like, look at medieval time. It is awful. Look at the Dark Ages. It is awful. So we can process that stuff and look at what the energetic and how it's dictating our life. So then you can process it, become wise from it. And then when you interact with that energetic in your now lifetime, then all of a sudden the wisdom kicks in. You're like, I know what that is. Whereas if it's unconscious, you might interact with that vibration, and then you'll get sick, or you'll get a flare, or you'll just stop doing whatever it is that you were doing. That's how it will take you out from the unconscious level. And so then when you are conscious of it and you interact with a vibe, instead of you taking 3 days to figure out what set you off, you're in the moment, and you're like, it's like this like fuzzy soft ball around you that feels what the other things that it interacts with. And so then it's like you have this like plush collision with things, to where you have some time to sense what you're feeling, so that it doesn't be the trigger to sabotage. And that's also, like, on the 3D perspective, what brain and heart coherence breathing is going to help you do. It's going to help you stay coherent. It's going to slow down the reactive time when you get into an energetic that is not in alignment with who you truly are, or your high self. So let's leave it there. Brooke, thank you so much for adding to this conversation. I'm like excited I got to talk about past lifetimes a bit. I'll be sharing with you stuff that's more about the outcome in our physical health and our aesthetic transformation. And then if we have discussions like this where we go a little bit deeper, I'm so happy to. But we're going to keep it very much focused on what are the matter of fact things that we can do mentally, emotionally, physically to transform our health and manifest our dream body. Brooke, I love you too. We will see you all Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time for a live recording. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you found it helpful, please share it on social media and tag me at It's Lauren Saracione and at 𝗶𝗶𝗯𝗿𝗁. You can just search my name, Lauren Saracione, on the IG, and you should find both of those handles, no problem. I'm going to leave you with a few little snippets of the ladies who were in the very first Queen's Gambit with me. The Queen's Gambit is my year-long transformation where I give you all the coaching you need for mindset, emotions, habits, diet, exercise, and self-care.
First of all, thank you for just giving of yourself and allowing us to be in this space today. That's been really amazing to just see like how much you're giving to us. So thank you for that.
Because I'm not gonna go shame myself anymore. I'm not gonna go fucking judge myself. I'm fucking over it. I'm so fucking done with that old game. It's just an old game. I'm not gonna play anymore.
Adding upper body has actually been really good. I enjoy it because I've always been so scared of it.
The energetic stuff like has been really great for me because I think that's like what my like soul was craving. Like I've been wanting to know more, but like where do I start? So this has been super great.
New identity, new person, new body.
And it was like, I could never get past certain plateaus, but this makes so much sense.
Exercises go really well. It's so much fun to have finally a gym.
I remember because it was so significant to me. That was after COVID. It was really difficult for me to go back because I had gained weight. I felt really heavy after having been lighter and through COVID and not working out. That day was really nice because you like encouraged me to like continue. When you told me, you're like, you're strong, sweetie, like you can go heavy, and I was like, really? That like helped me just kind of develop that confidence.
And I'm like, well, I'm gonna take responsibility for the mistake, but I'm not gonna like shaming or blaming or judging. It's not gonna help me take the responsibility, it just makes it like harder. So why the F should I? Like, make it hard for yourself, come on.